Hi everybody, it's Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world. Today is Thursday, June 4th, and this is Flosstube number 62. Before I get to the stitching, I just want to make a brief statement. I promise it will be brief. I know a lot of you don't want to hear about non-stitchy things in Flosstube, but I hope you'll listen. This is just going to be really brief, but I just want to say publicly, I've said it on my Instagram, so a lot of you already know this, but I want to say that this channel being me, talking about myself in the third person, supports the Black Lives Matter movement. I support the protests that are happening across the country against police brutality and against the institutionalized racism in America that has oppressed Black people. I also support LGBTQ community wholeheartedly. June is Pride Month and I'm celebrating. So if this is a problem for you, if it's something that you can't get past and just enjoy stitching, if it's something that's just going to be like an insurmountable obstacle for you, you are free to go. You can leave. You can thumbs down me on your way out. It's not a big deal to me. You're free to go. If you want to stay, I'm happy to have you. But I'm not going to argue these points like with anybody in the comments because you are not going to change my mind on this. So if it's a problem, you can leave. As Lolly said, bye-bye now. So, this week has been really hard. Emotions are running really high for everyone. And, people are hurting. And I just want to acknowledge that. I didn't feel like I could even film for several days now. Like it didn't feel right. And I felt like I certainly couldn't film a video and not acknowledge what's going on right now in America. And I know some of you aren't watching from America, and that's fine, but most of my viewers are Americans, and it needed to be said. Now we can talk about stitching. I promised it would be brief. So I wanted to, also I want to say there's not going to be book talk at the end of this video because I think it's going to be long enough because I have a lot of things to show, and also I'm honestly just not in the mood for a book talk with, there's just too much. There's too much going on. I am reading. I still read a lot, but I can't do book talk this week. So, Maynia wrap up is the big thing. And that's why I have so much to show. So, my Maynia, was a little bit of an adaptation of Stitchsania, which Steph from Lindy Stitches had primarily been promoting. It was a little bit of my own version. So I decided that Monday through Friday, weekdays, I was going to work on catching up old stitch-alongs. And then on the weekends, so on Saturday and Sunday, on Saturday I would allow myself a new start and then work on that Sunday as well. And then on Monday, back to my stitch-alongs. So, there were 5 weekends in May, so I had planned to have 5 new starts, and I decided they would all come from the Blackbird Designs Sewing Club book. And I did really good the first weekend, the second weekend, and the third weekend of May on the new starts from this book. And not only did I start 3 new projects, but I actually finished them. I had 3 finishes because none of them took too long. I've already shown you in my last video the 3 projects. One of them has been sent off to my mom. I stitched it to her. I stitched it for her for Mother's Day. And I'll post a picture on Instagram of the actual finish, because you guys saw the finished stitching, but you didn't see like the full finish. The other one I also showed, it was a little, oh, I guess I can show you what the projects were because I have them right here in the book. So the one I stitched for my mom was in my garden, and I did leave it as a flat finish and not as a drum, which was another way you could have finished it. They had it finished as a drum. I didn't want to do that, so I didn't. And then the other one I had shown and had finished was a real quick little project called Summer Flocks. And I think this might be the smallest project in this book. It took me 1 day. So I finished those 2. And then I had finished this last one, which is called Sowing, Garden Friends Sewing Bag. I had finished that last video, but now I've actually fully finished it. I stitched it on 40 count instead of the called for like 30 count. So I felt like mine was too small to make into the bag. I mean, I could have, but it just would have been really small, and I went to finish it and I was like, you know, it's the perfect size for a pillow. Like it just needs to be a pillow. So that's what I did. So here is my 3rd finish of Maynia. I backed this with some random fabric from my stash. And the trim is from Dames of the Needle. And when I get to haul, I can tell you more about that. I think it's called Colonial. I have it right here. It's from Dames of the Needle, and it's Colonial Tea. It's the mini pom-pom. I only have a little bit left. I think they sent, oh, it was 1 yard. I really like this trim. The reason I got the trim from Dames of the Needle is because Lady Dot Creates is about impossible to find in stock anywhere right now. So anyway, oh, the fabric, it was 40 count XG design in Grandma's Slip, which has like some kind of yellow aged splotchy bits, which I really think works. I like that look. Almost all the called for flosses, any substitutions were still in the spirit of the called for floss. Like if I didn't have the exact one, I pulled something that was the same. So 3 finishes. Unfortunately, the 4th week of May and the 5th week of May, I just didn't feel like a new start. I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed by some other stitch-alongs that I was participating in. I had picked 5 stitch-alongs to focus on Monday through Friday, but when I was doing that, I kind of forgot that I had committed to 2 stitch-alongs with Fat Quarter Shop that were running through May as well. And I had thought, oh, well, that can be like lunchtime stitching, like I'll keep up with those that way. But I was finding it kind of difficult to do that, to keep up with those. So the 4th weekend in May, I was like, I'm not doing a new start. I'm just going to work on these 2 projects this weekend and try to get them caught up. And I did. And then the very last weekend in May, which was May 30th and 31st, same thing. I just wanted to get those done, and I did. Well, I got one of them done and one of them is almost done. So the stitch along from Fat Quarter Shop that I actually was able to finish, I'm picking off the fuzzies, it is half fully finished. This was Feels Like Home, and I have started the finishing process, but this is not, obviously this is going into something else. But this is just, it's just mounted on mounting board. But this is the called for colors, which is all classic colorworks. It calls for a 25 count Lugana in the color Cloud, which is just white. That's all it is. And this is the called for 25 count, but instead of going over 2 and making a big project, I went over 1 and made a tiny little bitty project. This is about 5. I think it was about 5 inches square. It's tiny. It's it's supposed to be about 10 inches square, so it should be like this big. It should be a good size, and mine's very petite, but I think it came out really cute, and I'm excited to get that fully finished. But I need a couple things, and I just still haven't felt like I want to go into Michael's or Joann's, so I might do like a curbside pickup if I can find what I'm looking for. So the other stitch along from Fat Quarter Shop is I've been stitching on this since March. This is a 15-week stitch along. This is Prim Village, and I am so close. I am almost done. I might actually finish this after I film today. Like this will definitely be finished for my next video, but it might be finished today. And this is just like the Feels Like Home. It calls for a 25 count Lugana over 2, but I'm stitching mine over 1, and it's going to be 6 inches square instead of 12 inches square. And I'm on the last house, and don't let the size fool you. These houses take forever to stitch. They're like, I think I was looking, they're about 1,400 stitches each. So they take a hot minute to stitch. They feel like they shouldn't. They feel like they should take like an hour or 2, but they take like all day. So I love the way this project looks, and I've loved stitching on it. But I am ready to be done. So I'm ready to get this done. I guess it's kind of fitting that I'm finishing this in June, which is Pride Month, because of these beautiful rainbow colors. I'm kind of feeling that. So again, that's from Fat Quarter Shop. So was the Feels Like Home stitch along. And the Feels Like Home stitch along, you can actually, it's a PDF. It doesn't even come as a paper chart. So I know that people have reached out to me who do not live in the United States, and have asked if like some of these stitch alongs can be available as PDFs. And so this one is a PDF, so anybody can grab it and have it immediately. This one, unfortunately, is not a PDF. I'm sorry. But those were my 2 kind of side stitch alongs. They weren't even my Maynia focus. And this one is almost done. It's so close. I cannot wait to be done with that. I knew, like, going in, I was like, oh, that could get a little tedious. I thought that having all the color changes would help a lot. It did at first, but after a while I was like, I don't want to stitch these houses anymore. So it was a little hard. But we're almost there. I'll never stitch one of those again though. Never. The reason I say that is because they suggest that you can pull one of the houses and just do a cute little small. And I was like, oh, that would be perfect for like a smalls exchange at a retreat. Like, how cute. And I still think that would be perfect for a smalls exchange at a retreat, but I will not be stitching one of these houses for the 13th time. It's just not going to happen. Okay, so the 5 stitch alongs that I picked for a focus in May. Unfortunately, I'll be honest, I didn't get a ton of progress on all of these because I ended up only being able to put about 4 days into each of them. So, you know, I didn't like get these caught up or anything, but I am happy with the progress I was able to make with the 4 days. I'm happy. So the first one I picked was a current stitch along, which is the Linen and Threads 2020 Friends and Family stitch along. Now June just came out and I haven't printed it yet, but this is through May. Going into Maynia, I had January and February done. I did not have March, April, or May. And I am pleased to say that I did get March done. And so I'm on to April. April, unfortunately, is a beast. I'm stitching this on 40 count mallow linen, and I am stitching it with the DMC color variations in the color, or the number 4240. It's a royal blue to purple to navy. And I'm really loving how this is coming together. So here's March was this, and then this was my start on April. I can get closer maybe so you can see the color a little better of the floss. And you might notice the initials I started putting initials in, and then February came out and I realized like there were going to be a lot more initials than I thought, and I was like, okay, I need to stop and I need to wait until the very end and figure out what initials and where. So these 2 at the top will probably be ripped out, and I haven't been putting the initials in going forward, which there's already been quite a few initials in there. If you look, you know, there's already several. Okay, so I was able to get 1 whole month caught up, but I still need to do April, May, and June. So let me see. The other stitch along I'm doing that is an ongoing 2020 is Ingleside Imaginarium, Kaluna Brightburns Catalog for Witches Familiars. You can get this on Etsy. I know that's a mouthful, so I'm just going to hold that up for you if you want to see. Here is, including June, which just came out, here is where this stitch along is. What I really appreciate about this stitch along is that it's not like an overwhelming amount of stitching. Like, I feel like the frame is very reasonable, and then I feel like each month is a reasonable amount of stitching. The March took me a minute. That one was pretty intense, but I think the next 3 are pretty light on stitching. Like Linen and Threads, I only had January and February done going in to Maynia, and I was able to finish March and start on April. So, but this one, I feel like I have a much more realistic chance of catching up before the Linen and Threads would be caught up. But I do kind of hope to stay on top of both of those and not fall like really super behind. So I'm stitching this one on a 40 count Victorian motto linen. My friend Amy gifted this to me. It doesn't have a name. I guess she doesn't name her fabrics. It's really pretty. It's just a nice, like, grungy beige with some gray splotches. It's really, really nice. So I'm stitching it 1 thread over 2 on 40 count. And that works because there aren't any blends in this. So I was able to get March caught up and I started on April. I'm really, really, really loving this stitch along. It's fun to do. It looks really good. It's really interesting. It calls for only a few colors. I remember when I started it, and I knew there was going to be 12 animals essentially in this stitch along. And I'm like, how is she going to do this with like 5 colors? Like, I don't get it. But she is, and it's working. She uses obviously black 310, 2 grays, 2 blues, and 1 gold. That is it. That is all the colors. And it's just amazing to me how much detail she's able to get in there with primarily just a black and 2 grays. That's what almost all the animals are made up of. The blue is just accent and the gold is just accent. So I'm very impressed. And I love Ingleside Imaginarium, and I love the designer behind Ingleside Imaginarium. Her name is Brittany Church. She's also Blimey Cat. She's like one of the OGs in the cross stitch community, and she's an awesome person. So hi, Brittany. She usually watches and comments on my videos. So I love that stitch along. I love it. I have one other stitch along that is an ongoing current 2020 stitch along, but I am very behind and I don't have any hopes of really catching this one up. But this is a free pattern. If you search for Cunning Cross Stitch Letters from Hogwarts, you will find a blog where you can download this pattern. It is free. Here's what the frame, it's a Harry Potter inspired pattern. Here's what the frame looks like. And it's not a monthly stitch along, it's an every 2 months. So chapter 1 was released in January, chapter 2 was released in March, chapter 3 was released in May, and the next chapter 4 will be released in July. Here's what the top looks like. We got Hogwarts and the Hogwarts Express up there. And what's really interesting about this stitch along is it's a choose your own adventure. So it's really fun because every part has options for customization. So chapter 1 is pick your Hogwarts house. So there's only 4 options for that. But chapter 2 was Quidditch, and there were several options there about what position you wanted to be on the team, and there were like, I think 16 different options, something like that. And then chapter 3 is pick a class. So there were many, many options with chapter 3, like divination, care of magical creatures, things like that. So it's been really fun that there's so much option for customization. And what's really cool is that people are going beyond even those options and bringing in their own elements. And that really inspired me. And so I'm doing the same. So first I'm stitching this on 28 count Monaco, and I dyed this myself. And so far on the top of the pattern, I haven't made any changes, but I will. I am going to. I'm about half done with the top. I wanted to jump down to chapter 1, which is this huge block right here where you choose your house. And the options for chapter 1 were full coverage banners. This is a 60 by 100 block, and it was full coverage, and I was like, I am not stitching 60 by 100 full coverage. I'm not doing it. I don't want to. And honestly, I don't want to like talk negatively about this design because I think it's a great design and it's free, but I wasn't feeling the Gryffindor banner. It was my least favorite of the 4 banners. I thought the Ravenclaw banner was pretty good. But anyway, I wasn't going to pick a different house, but I was like, I don't know. I don't want to do that one. So I started looking at what other people were doing, and I kind of pulled pieces from different patterns and came up with my own thing. And it's not done. But here is where I got on this. So this sorting hat is free on Lord Libidan. It's a blog, I think, and you can find a bunch of free Harry Potter patterns. I stitched this 1/1 on 28 count. That kind of sucked, I'm not gonna lie, but if I didn't do it 1/1, it was gonna take up like this much, and I didn't want to devote that much space to it. So I broke 3 needles stitching that. That was fun. And then I got to this Gryffindor motto. The final will say, "Where dwelt the brave at heart." I am stitching this with DMC metallic. It is I think it's 321. Yeah, it's a 321 metallic. And unfortunately, I'm also stitching this 1/1. So I decided to torture myself by doing 1/1 on 28 count with metallic. It looks awesome. I don't know how much sparkle you're going to be able to see, but I imagine you're getting some of it anyway. It looks really, really good. It's totally worth it, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work because anyone who's stitched with DMC metallics knows that they're the worst. They're the worst. And then try doing 1/1 on 28 count. It looks good. It looks really good. But that 1/1 is brutal. So the rest of the block, I'm going to put a lion here in the middle. And then up at the very top of the block, I'm going to have like a scroll parchment that's going to say Gryffindor. So I thought I was saving myself quite a lot of work by not doing a full coverage banner, but honestly, it probably would have been faster if I had just done the full coverage banner. So. But I love the way it's looking. I'm very glad I'm doing that. But you can see why I'm not really hopeful about getting caught up on this stitch along, because I still have a lot to go on it. But I like it, and I'm not abandoning it. I hope to get more done on it this year, but I don't have hopes of catching up. My 4th stitch along is one that is completed. It finished in, I think, April of this year. It's by the Witchy Stitcher, and it's called Chopping Mall. Here's what the frame looks like. And then every 2 weeks she was releasing a store. And like I said, it's now completed, but I am on store 3. I'm stitching this on 28 count, sorry, the truck was really loud. I'm stitching this on 28 count Monaco that I dyed myself. And like I said, I'm on store 3 and I'm chipping away at the top banner as I go. It's a lot of stitching. The stores themselves are really quick and not dense stitching, but the frame is very dense stitching. So I kind of do some of the frame and then I go and do a store to give myself a break. And then I go back to the frame and then I go do a store. So I'm trying to like do it that way instead of just doing the frame. But I'm really happy with the progress I was able to make on this. So I've gotten a lot done on this frame up here. I had the middle store Chucky and his bride. I had that done. I had like half of this store done and I finished it. And then I started on store 3 and I've got a lot done there as well. But there is a full coverage banner here at the top that I still have to do. That's Freddie. This is a modification I got from the Witchy Stitchers Facebook group. The original calls for like it's like a cloud and it says sweet dreams. And I just had to do the Freddy waterbed scene that somebody had graciously shared with the group. So there's that. I think it's looking really good. It's just DMC. It's been really, really fun. Really fun to stitch. And then my fifth stitch along, my final one. And this is an old one. This stitch along concluded in 2019. This is by, I recently learned how to say this word. The designer is Suburban Ennui. And it's the works of Jane Austen stitch along. And you can find her on Etsy. And you can find this pattern there. I know a lot of you have gone and gotten this pattern after seeing me working on this again. And it's all 6 of Jane Austen's most prominent novels. And going in, I had the top done and half of Sense and Sensibility done. I'm really pleased with the progress I made on this one. I'm using all the called for DMCs, but I am stitching this on a 36 count linen, and I decided to go with 1 strand over 2 instead of 2. That is the age-old dilemma with 36 count linen. 1 strand frequently doesn't seem like enough coverage, but 2 strands feels like too much. It gets really bulky. I decided to go with 1 strand. The coverage is thin in parts. I do think it works. I like the look. I think it gives it more of like a delicate vintage look, so I don't mind. This is an Exude Designs fabric called Dark Mountain, I think. It was a fabric of the month. I don't know if you can get it regularly. It's just a pretty gray. So I finished the Sense and Sensibility block completely, and I started on Pride and Prejudice, and I got Pemberley done. And Pemberley took about 10 hours. So that was no joke. But Barton Cottage on Sense and Sensibility and Pemberley are the 2 biggest structures on this whole piece. And I feel like now that they're done, I can like fly through the rest. Like those were definitely the biggest chunks of stitching on here. I think Emma will go, or no, that's not Emma. That's Mansfield Park. Emma's right here. I think Emma will go really fast. It's not a lot of stitching at all. I love that stitch along, but I am really behind on it. Like really behind. Okay. And that's not all my stitching for Maynia, because I also have committed to a stitch along. It was definitely a stitch along theme for the month. I have committed to stitching this pattern with my friend Amy, Gable Stitcher, on the 29th and or 30th of every month. We made this promise to each other so that we wouldn't like set it aside and then not touch it for 4 months or whatever. Don't have to work on it both days, but you have to work on it at least one of the days. So this is R&R Reproductions. It's a very old chart. It's from 1997, and it's called Designer's Motif Sampler. It's a hand-drawn chart. And I feel like I got some good progress on this month. I'm stitching this on 36 count vintage. It's Lakeside Linens. I probably have it here, huh? It's vintage maritime white, maybe? Yeah, 36 count vintage maritime white. Again, that old dilemma of 36 count, like, one strand or two. I'm doing one strand and I think the coverage is really good. I have got the top chunk done except for these gold crowns in the border. Those repeat, and then like down the side. But I've got all the words or the letters done on the top. Okay, I'm sorry if there's an awkward transition there. I dropped my camera and it stopped recording. I generally don't do any kind of editing with my videos. I just record and go because it's way easier and faster for me, but I guess I'm going to be downloading an editing program and piecing these two videos together. So anyway, so I made excellent progress on this. I feel this is all straight cross stitch except for this whole row right here is all rice stitches. I don't think I ever need to do another rice stitch again. It's Algerian eyelets in the middle. Yeah. They actually weren't bad to do. Like once I got the rhythm, I was actually able to do them pretty quick. But that is a lot of rice stitches. So, but it looks good. It looks good. This is all the called for DMC. Later in the chart, it calls for like some silks or something. And I think when I get there, I'm just going to figure it out. Okay, so that was Maynia. Yeah, that was Maynia. That was Maynia. I just realized though, when I said I didn't do the last 2 weekends of May, I didn't do the Blackbird Sewing Club book. That's true. The 4th weekend, I didn't. I focused on my Fat Quarter Shop stitch-alongs. But the 5th weekend, it wasn't that I wanted to focus on those stitch-alongs. It was that I desperately wanted to start this. Kathy Barrick, AH to EE. I had received my fabric and my floss, and I just really wanted to start it. So I started this the last weekend of May. I figured at that point, like, Stitch Mania was essentially done, like, close enough. So I am stitching this on a 40 count R&R fabric called Antique Cotton. I got it from Jen's Stitching Niche on Etsy, and I want to just say I've always been impressed with Jen, but really impressed that right now when most online shops have quite a delay in sending out orders, I ordered this and she sent it out the next day and I got it like, you know, 2 days later. So super fast shipping. If you are needing to shop and you don't want to wait, definitely give Jen's Stitching Niche on Etsy a look. So this is 40 count antique cotton. Is that not so pretty? That is so pretty. R&R fabrics are nice, but for me, they're often just a little boring. Like in that sounds bad. They're not boring. It's just they're not simple. They're usually just more of a solid color, and I like to see some modeling and some tone changes in my fabric. And theirs tend to be more of like a straightforward color, although they are very well done, and that works really well for samplers. And I was prepared and expecting this to just be a real simple, and I don't know if it's going to show up on camera, but there actually is a little bit of modeling in here. It's probably not going to show. It's subtle, but it's really, really nice. It's really pretty. The tone is really pretty. I love it. I am stitching this with a Threadworks floss. I think I lost the, whoops. I lost the tag that says what color this is. It is like a dark navy, almost black, to dark green to dark brown. It kind of reminds me of like a peacock. I think that's showing up pretty well. Navy, green, and brown. And I was hoping that the overall effect would just be like a dark, like kind of blackish look. The colors are showing up probably a little more than I expected, but I don't care because I really like the way it looks. So I'm still really happy with it. That is a Threadworks floss. I got it from a seller on Etsy called Ancora Crafts, Ancora. Also very impressed. She has a wide selection of Threadworks and some other stuff. And she also shipped immediately and I got it super fast. So if you need some floss, go check her out. Here's how far I got on the sampler, or the Quaker sampler. I don't know if you're gonna, you could probably see the color changes there. Definitely, like, you know, overall it's got that look of, this is actually a dark green sampler. It's not black. The thread that Kathy Barrick used is dark green. I really love this. I was just so excited about the fabric and the floss that I just really wanted to start it. So I did. And I love it. So that was May. That was Maynia. I have one more start. Because on June 1st, I decided I wanted to celebrate Pride. And I decided to do that with a pattern from Etsy. I spent hours upon hours looking at patterns on Etsy related to Pride. And I found a lot and I couldn't quite find just like the right one. And I finally settled on this one, which is not a Pride pattern at all, but I was like, I can make it a Pride pattern. This is by a seller called Hall, H-A-L-L, Hall Stitches. It's called something like Alice in, I think it's just called Alice in Wonderland. It says, "We're all mad here." And I decided I'm going to make this my Pride pattern because I'm going to use Threadworks floss that I got from Ancora Crafts. It's color 1154, which is also called Bradley's Balloons. And it's rainbow floss. And it's amazing. It's absolutely incredible. And I decided I would also use an opalescent shiny DMC. I don't think it's a metallic, it's more like nylon. It's color 5272. And I don't know if it's going to show up. It is a pearl white and it shimmers. And here I'm stitching it on a really simple 28 count black even weave that I rescued from like a kit or something. And here's how far I've gotten. And I don't know, that's probably not going to show up, but the white in person is shimmery, shiny, splendid. It's a pearl with iridescence. It's really pretty. It's not as difficult to work with as the DMC metallics. It's not great. It starts to shred, and it can get tangly, but it's much easier to work with than the metallics. And the Threadworks is great. It stitches like DMC. So hopefully you can kind of see what I'm doing with this. So the middle, "We're all mad here," is going to be that white pearl. And then the heart here, here, and down here is going to be the rainbow. And it's going to be pretty big. I think I might make it a pillow. when it's all said and done. It's stitching up decently quick. That was part of what helped me pick what pattern I wanted to do, was I felt like this one wouldn't take, not that it's going to be super fast, but I didn't feel like it would take forever and ever. So hopefully that's the case. Okay, that's all my stitching. So I do have quite a bit of haul, and if you don't want to see haul, like, that's totally fine. You can leave now. I'm just gonna do haul, and then I'm gonna talk about, like, just real brief, like, what I'm gonna stitch next, or what I might stitch next. But I have quite a bit of haul, so if you don't care, like, you can just turn off now. So from Jen's Stitching Niche on Etsy, I had gotten that beautiful R&R fabric, and also I forgot to say I did get this pattern from Jen. And then I got one other pattern from Jen. So I got the Hands Across the Sea, Louisa Coulamore. I don't even know how to, I don't know if I've heard anybody say this. Louisa Coulamore. It's a Bristol Orphanage sampler. I have admired and looked at Bristol Orphanage samplers, and this one has always been the one I come back to. I've almost bought several others, but this one kept, like, coming back. This had been released previously and then became incredibly hard to find, if I remember. I remember looking for this like a year ago and you couldn't find it anywhere. And then she re-released it this year at Market. So this was the one I needed. I don't have any plans to start this right away, but I love it. I also had to get this new skull sampler. Quiltified Designs on Etsy released a third skull Veerland sampler. Now, they had previously released one. It was called All Souls Veerland, and then they did the All Souls Band sampler. So this is the third one, Shadel Veerlanden. And I haven't finished the other two, but I needed this one. However, I don't believe I'll start this one until I finish one of the other two. I did make an order from a seller on Etsy. It was a new seller. Bayou. It was something Bayou. Now I can't even remember what her shop name was called. Bayou. Did I write it down? Oh yeah. Bayou Some Thread. And she, I don't know. Oh, I went looking for a pattern specifically, and her shop came up. And of course I went to see what else she had. And she was having a sale. I think it was Memorial Day weekend. And she's running some kind of sale. And everything was like 20 or 25% off. And so there were some things I needed. So I got a piece of 40 count Weeks Dye Works Havana. And it's the new Zweigart base. You can see the little orange. I got this for an amazing price. It's a fat quarter. And then I got a pattern, a kit that I'm not going to show you guys because it's a present for somebody. But that was what I originally was hunting for. This was a super random purchase because the price was just too good. It's Cedar Hill Christmas Rose Sampler, which is pretty, and it's fully kitted. It comes with fabric and floss, and the floss is just DMC. It was like $7 or something insane, so I got it. And then I'm really excited about this. I got the Stacy Nash Home for Christmas. I've wanted this for a while, and like I said, she had it on sale, so I had to grab it. It's got a couple of patterns in it. Some of them are quite simple, but there's some really pretty ones. I think these are really pretty. Pen keep ornaments, little Quakers. And then there's a little bag. It just says Merry Christmas. And then the one I really, like, the reason I really wanted it was for, where is it? Oh, there's another bag. There's a pocket roll. It says Faith, Family, Friends, I believe. And then the one I really, really love is All Hearts Come Home at Christmas. I love that. So I got that. I had showed you guys I got some trim from Dames of the Needle. I got this from Cottage Needle on Etsy, which is a really big cross-stitch store on Etsy. I got this color, which is Colonial Tea. I got Old Copper Penny. And I got Nick's Coat, which is really cool, like reddish brown. I really like the look of these, and I like them. I haven't used Lady Dot Creates, but I'm guessing they're pretty comparable. And then I also got some chenille trim. It's called NM, which I assume means New Mexico. NM Turquoise. I bought this in the hopes that it would work for this, but the blue wasn't quite right. But that's okay because this other one worked really, really great. So. Ooh, I hope the lighting didn't just totally shift for you guys. It did for me. Hopefully, sometimes like things look really weird for me, but when I go back and watch, like it looks fine. So I hope you haven't been watching me in darkness for a while. Okay, here is my pillow. I need a screen grab, so that was my photo op. We're almost done, I promise. Another Etsy pattern I bought was a thread sewer. So I have had this pattern saved for months and months and months, and I've almost bought it like 3 or 4 times. And somehow I'm always like, no, I'll buy it later. I don't know why, but I'm just like, it's not going anywhere. I'll buy it later. Well, Thread Sewer on Instagram had said that she wanted to do something to support the Black Lives Matter movement, and that she was going to donate proceeds from the sales in her Etsy shop to a few organizations. So I was like, oh, I've been meaning to buy this for literally like 6 months. I'm just gonna go get it. So I got the Baba Yaga, I think, sampler. It's really awesome. I first saw this, I think, on Reddit. Someone had stitched it on the Reddit cross stitch. And then another pattern that I had saved, and this is a new pattern. This just came out not very long ago. I had saved it and just hadn't bought it yet. Darling and Whimsy Designs on Etsy. And she also said, I am going to donate proceeds from the sales in my Etsy shop to, I think hers were, I think she had a couple, but primarily I think it might have been Black Lives Matter Toronto. I could be making that up, but I went and grabbed this one. This is Mulberry Trees. You all know I had to have this because this is a Jane Austen pattern. So it is, it's basically a quote taken from a letter that Jane Austen had written to a friend. And she wrote, I will not say that your mulberry trees are dead, but I am afraid they are not alive. I guess she had promised to take care of a friend's mulberry trees, and she had a black thumb and she killed the trees. So I just love that. I love that. I love everything about it. I love the border. I love the little motifs at the bottom. I love the simplicity. I love the colors. It calls for some Weeks dye works and one Gentle Arts. So pretty. What else did I buy? Oh, this is it. This is the last thing. Somebody, I think I was on Etsy, or no, I was on Reddit, and somebody posted a finish of one of these, and I had to go look, and then I had to buy them all. So this is one of those Russian designers, or maybe Ukrainian, and they don't ever put their shop name on their Etsy patterns. It drives me insane. I think it was like Daily Magic Stitch, I think was the shop. And they had all these little Harry Potter bottles. Look how cute these are. And they're actually really small. They're like 47 by 54. They're little bitties. And they're so pretty. And there's like 7 of them, and I bought them all. So there's the Deathly Hallows. There's Hedwig. These would stitch up so fast, and they're so cute. There is, sorry, they're all running together. The Golden Snitch. Hogwarts in a bottle. Cute. There's the burrow with the car that Ron and Harry steal in Chamber of Secrets. My least favorite Harry Potter book and movie, by the way. Fun fact about me. What's my favorite, you ask? I'm glad you asked. My favorite Harry Potter book and movie is The Prisoner of Azkaban. Thank you. What's yours? Platform 9 3/4. Hogwarts Express. And Always. Okay, that's all my haul. As you can see, I'm not even pretending to have any restraint anymore. Just not. Just not. Okay, so the last thing I want to say is plans for June. I had plans, y'all. I had plans. I had this big plan that in June I was gonna finish as many things as I could. I went through all of my WIPs, my works in progress, and I looked at them really closely. Like, what is the closest to being finished? And it's really interesting when you really look, because sometimes you feel like something's like so close to being finished, and then you look and there's like 2,500 stitches left on it. And I found that like some things I might have been 80% done with the whole piece, but the little bit I had left was still way more stitching than a different piece I had that maybe I only had 15% done, but the overall piece had way less stitching. So, I mean, I was like legit like counting stitches to see what was like truly the closest to being finished. And I pulled out 9 different projects and was like, I'm just gonna bang them out, and I may not get all 9 finished, and that's fine, but I think it's possible, because a lot of them, my estimate was anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 days to get a finish. So I thought if you average like 3 days on 9 projects, you can finish that in a month. So those were my June plans. But, you know, things happened, and I just veered a little off course. I think we need to give ourselves a break in stressful times. And I just was like, you know, I don't feel like doing that yet. I mean, it's only June 4th, but I was like, I want to work on this Alice Pride thing I'm working on, and I want to finish Prim Village, and after that I might want to work on something else. So that's what I'm doing. I still think I will finish some of those 9 projects, but I'm just not putting that pressure. I'm not putting that pressure on myself. So if I do, I do, and if I don't, that's fine. It's totally fine. So I'm not even going to show you all 9 of them because I don't know if I'm really going to stitch on all of them or any of them or whatever. But I will say one thing that's just really, really calling to me that I think I will be starting soon is the Satsuma Street Otonyo. What originally started my order at Ancora Crafts was she had some of these DMC variations that I was missing. I had a couple of them, but I was missing some, and she had all of them. And so I found her on Etsy for that, and then I stumbled upon the Threadworks and bought those as like an incidental purchase. I'm going to stitch this on 32 count linen that I dyed myself. I'm calling this Whiskey. It just reminds me of whiskey, the tone of it. And I'm really excited because I've got all the floss and, oh, sorry about the glare. I've got all the floss, I've got the fabric, and it's beautiful, and it's not that big of a piece. And Helen D stitched it, and it's so pretty. And even though it's not autumn, I just really want to stitch this. So I think that might be a start soon. I have some secret stitching that I'm going to be doing this month on the 13th. So on the 13th of the month, Amy Gable Stitcher and I always start a new Halloween project, and we call it Stitch Halloween 13 is the hashtag we use. And I am not going to be able to show you guys this month because what I'm stitching is going to be a present for somebody. So secret stitching. But other than that, I'm leaving the door open, like, to whatever's calling. So I had firm plans for June, but they've gone out the window. The exact same thing happened in March when the COVID pandemic hit. I had, like, in February, made all these big plans for what I was going to do in March. And then all the things happened, and I was like, I can't, it's like, it's too much, it's too stressful, like, I can't do it, you know, and I just stitched on whatever I wanted to. And for June, like, all through May, I've been thinking about it, and I had these big plans, and now I'm like, I don't think that's gonna happen. So that's okay. Like, it's just cross stitch. Like, do what you want, stitch what you want when you want. I like to have some plans, but I'm also flexible. Like, you don't have to do anything. So, okay, that's all I've got. Thanks for watching, and if you weren't put off by, you know, my political stance in the beginning of the video, I'm so glad, and I'm glad you've watched this long. It's really shocking to me that those opinions can be so controversial, like that, you know, human rights can be such a hot button topic. But there you have it. So if you guys have any comments, you know, feel free to leave them. I imagine some of you are going to be like, wow, I'm glad someone said it. And that's great. I hope other people maybe will feel like they can stand up and speak as well. So until next time, thanks for watching. Bye.